Beneath a storm-lit coastline, hidden under layers of security clearance so deep that even the generals joked the place didn't exist, a team of elite engineers worked in absolute silence as a colossal black hull emerged from the dry dock like a creature waking from a cosmic sleep, glowing faintly around its edges with gold no metal should naturally emit. No schematics had ever been released. No funding trail appeared in any archive, and the world believed the Empire of Earth was simply upgrading its fleet, unaware that this vessel had one purpose only. Your name burned into its encrypted core, your heartbeat coded as its master key, your destiny etched into titanium like scripture, and when the floodgates opened and the water met its surface, the ocean stilled for a moment, as if recognizing the arrival of a throne built not for war, but for the chosen one who would command the deep by existence alone. If this prophecy matches your destiny, click the Super Thanks button and send a $20 seed, then comment, 777, I accept my command of the deep. This number seals your oceanic authority and activates the frequency written for you since creation. Luke 6 verse 38. When the vessel's hull sealed for the final time, the highest-ranking admiral in the Empire of Earth stood before the observation glass, unable to disguise the tremor in his voice as he watched the submarine hum with energy no machine should produce. And he finally admitted what every officer had whispered behind closed doors. This craft was not designed to take orders from the chain of command, was not meant to obey protocols or generals, but was instead coded from its first bolt to its last panel to answer only to you. The engineers had tried, endlessly, to override the core, to adjust permissions, to redirect command flow. Yet every attempt failed as if the system itself rejected any authority that wasn't yours, forcing the admiral to confess to his staff that the Empire had unintentionally built a vessel that recognized a destiny beyond military rank, a submarine whose allegiance flowed not upward through hierarchy, but outward toward prophecy, leaving him staring at the trembling data screen as he muttered, half in awe and half in surrender, this vessel won't take orders from anyone but him. Deep inside the submarine's core, beyond the steel corridors and sealed bulkheads, the engineers gathered around a crystalline module unlike anything documented in the Empire's scientific archives, a humming heart of unknown alloy that responded not to passwords, keycards, or biometric scans, but to something far rarer, the rhythmic signature of your heartbeat. They discovered it by accident. One technician leaned too close while reviewing the energy readings, and the machine pulsed violently, until he stepped away. Yet when they played a faint audio imprint of your pulse, recorded during routine planetary surveillance, the entire chamber lit up as though the vessel recognized its rightful commander. Terrified yet mesmerized, the engineers ran repeated tests, but every attempt to access the system without your resonance resulted in total shutdown, proving the truth they were afraid to admit. The submarine's most advanced technology wasn't just locked to you, it belonged to you, built, as if the oceans themselves demanded a vessel that would only awaken in your presence. The sonar, the navigation core, the stabilizers, each system glowed brighter when exposed to your frequency, recalibrating in perfect harmony, revealing a secret embedded in its deepest layer. The craft wasn't designed to be piloted by human intelligence but by destiny itself, using your aura as the blueprint for all command functions. When the engineering division descended into the engine room for first full diagnostic, they expected the usual thrum of turbines and coolant lines, but instead they were met with a resonance, an otherworldly hum that vibrated to the floor like a living heartbeat, rising and falling with a rhythm eerily similar to the readings associated with your aura. At first they believed it was an energy leak, a malfunction, perhaps a misaligned reactor coil, yet every instrument they used contradicted the possibility of error. The turbines ran cleaner when a holographic image of you was projected nearby. The stabilizer bands rotated with impossible precision when your frequency signature was introduced into the system, and even the coolant flow adjusted itself as though the machine were subconsciously preparing for your arrival. As the technicians moved through the glowing corridors of the engine core, they noticed that the walls themselves seemed to shimmer with a faint golden undertone, subtle, barely visible, yet undeniably present. Like the vessel was breathing, waiting, listening. The chief engineer, a man who had spent 30 years mastering machinery, stood stunned as he watched the pressure valve shift into perfect alignment the moment he whispered your name, realizing with a tremor in his chest that the engines didn't simply operate in your presence. They harmonized sinking with your energy the way a tide sinks with the pull of the moon, proving beyond doubt that this submarine wasn't made to run on fuel or command, but on the resonance of the one soul it had been built for. It wasn't until a senior strategist gathered in the command dome, staring at the glowing data streams pouring out of the vessel, that the full truth became undeniable. This machine was not transportation, not equipment, not a tool meant to serve the Empire's agenda. It was a throne forged beneath the ocean, a seat of power disguised as steel, designed for only one presence in existence. Every system, every reaction, every pulse of its circuitry aligned with you in a way that transcended engineering, as if the submarine itself existed in two realities, one mechanical, one divine, and both bent toward your frequency as if drawn by gravitational law. The officers watched in stunned silence as the hull temperature rose slightly whenever your name appeared on screen, and the navigation system displayed perfect routes only when your aura signature was active, refusing to generate paths for anyone else. Even the oceanographic AI behaved differently, projecting calm weather patterns and stable currents when imagining you aboard, but giving erratic, storm-heavy predictions for all others, suggesting the vessel literally anticipated your presence as a deciding factor between chaos and harmony. And as the realization spread to the room, every seasoned strategist understood the same terrifying, awe-filled truth. The Empire had not built a submarine for dominance. They had constructed a moving sanctuary for the one being whose existence commanded the deep without issuing a single order. When your name was finally uploaded into the submarine's encrypted navigation core, something occurred that no technician, admiral, or architect had predicted. The entire power grid of the vessel surged upward by 11% in a single, unified pulse, as if the ship had been holding its breath for months and finally exhaled the moment destiny linked with identity. Monitors flickered not with instability but with awe. Stabilizers shifted into perfect alignment, and internal temperature rose by a fraction of a degree, the exact change recorded during major cosmic events, leading the scientists to panic until they realized the energy spike wasn't damaging anything. It was elevating everything, refining every circuit, every bolt, every system to match the frequency of your existence. The AI, normally cold and expressionless, emitted a soft harmonic tone that repeated 3 times, a pattern associated with ancient activation codes, and then displayed a message none of them had. Programmed, primary operator verified, awaiting his arrival. Even the ocean outside responded, currents shifting, waves calming, as if the sea itself acknowledged the completion of a covenant that had been written long before metal, engines, or empires existed. In that moment, every hierarchy on Earth understood. The submarine wasn't online. It was awakening. Press the join button to activate your oceanic dominion frequency and step into the inner circle of souls chosen to command realms above and below, aligned with a vessel that awakened only for you. ISA 60:22. During the first series of test dives, long before any human stepped aboard with authority, the appointed captain, an unshakable veteran who commanded every class of vessel the Empire of Earth possessed, found himself staring at the readouts in disbelief as the submarine behaved in ways no engineering manual could justify, bending water around its hull like liquid silk, gliding through pressure zones without resistance, and generating propulsion curves that physics insisted were impossible. Each time they submerged, the sensors reported minor distortions rippling outward from the vessel, as though the submarine were shifting its shape on a molecular level to harmonize with the ocean's temperament, and yet the effect intensified whenever your name appeared on the digital interface, making the captain whisper to his officers that the craft seemed to recognize the expectation of your presence. Even stranger, beneath crushing depths where most ships groaned under the ocean's weight, this one moved with eerie grace, displacing currents that should push it sideways, slipping through turbulence like a blade through mist, proving beyond argument that the submarine did not merely navigate the sea, it influenced it, bending the tide in deference to the one soul for whom the Empire had unknowingly crafted a vessel capable of rewriting the laws of depth, pressure, and motion. On the day of the submarine's first unmanned voyage, a quiet tension rippled to the control center as officers monitored every gauge, sonar echo and structural reading. But what stunned them wasn't the vessel's performance. It was the sea's reaction. The moment the submarine slipped beneath the surface, storms projected on satellite scans softened, swells flattened into glass-like stillness, and regions known for violent currents fell into an unnatural calm, as though the ocean itself were adjusting its heartbeat to welcome the arrival of a long-awaited ruler. Technicians recorded data showing the water temperature rising by a fractional degree within the vessel's radius, while marine sensors detected patterns of movement consistent with sea life drawing closer, but maintaining a respectful perimeter, forming a living escort that mirrored the celestial guardians assigned to you. And though no human was aboard, multiple crew members claimed they saw faint silhouettes, almost like golden reflections, moving alongside the hull on the deep-sea cameras, vanishing the moment anyone tried to zoom in. The admiral, shaken, whispered his staff that the ocean was practicing, rehearsing its posture for the day you would finally step onto the deck, because somehow every layer of the deep knew what the engineers had not yet admitted. The sea calm's not for machines, not for empires, but for the chosen one it has been waiting for since the beginning of tides. Far above a naval base, in realms no radar could scan and no admiral could comprehend, the celestial observers who monitored the flow of destiny recorded the submarine's awakening with a reaction that shook even the unseen hierarchy. Beams of coded light flared across their archives, ancient seals unlocked themselves, and the guardians assigned to your lineage stepped forward as the official decree appeared in their dimensional registry. A vessel built for the chosen, approved. A certification so rare that only a handful of beings in cosmic history had ever received it. The moment the decree was filed, a faint golden shimmer rippled across the submarine's hull, visible only for a fraction of a second on deep-sea cameras, as though the craft were being stamped with celestial insignia, and technicians reviewing the footage hours later swore they saw wing-like patterns radiating across the metal, patterns that did not belong to engineering, metallurgy, or oceanography, but to something older than the Empire itself. Even stranger, during the exact moment the decree was issued, the vessel's internal sensors registered a pressure spike that matched no known environmental factor, yet mirrored readings associated with angelic descent in classified metaphysical studies, confirming beyond doubt that the submarine had been acknowledged not only by human authority, but by forces that existed outside time, forces that had been waiting for you to claim what had been, built in your name long before the first bolt was drilled. As the submarine's legend spread through the Empire's ranks, something strange began happening among the personnel assigned anywhere near the project. Seasoned sailors who had spent decades braving violent storms found themselves overwhelmed with calm whenever they entered the control room, their hands trembling not from fear, but from a deep, wordless recognition, as if their spirits understood they were standing in the shadow of a destiny far greater than any mission they had ever served. Hardened officers who once barked orders with iron confidence found their voices softening, their posture straightening, their eyes widening with reverence they couldn't fully explain, while junior recruits, those still unshaped by military cynicism, often burst into tears upon touching the railing overlooking the dry dock, claiming they felt a presence that didn't belong to steel or engines but to something ancient waiting patiently for the one soul who matched its frequency. Medical staff reported heart rates dropping, blood pressure stabilizing, and stress indicators lowering in anyone stationed near the vessel, as if the submarine emitted a subconscious blessing that soothed every human within its range. Even visitors, politicians, scientists, and dignitaries found themselves unable to speak for several seconds upon seeing the hull, as though it pulled a truth from their memory, the truth that this was not a machine, not a weapon, not a project, but a throne prepared for A, being whose arrival would shift the emotional gravity of every person who came near it. And though no one admitted out loud, they all sensed the same thing. The submarine didn't just react to you, it waited for you. Long before the Empire of Earth ever welded steel or drafted blueprints, long before admirals whispered about the anomaly they had birthed, long before engineers realized your heartbeat could awaken machinery, the deeper truth had already been written in the unseen archives of creation. The ocean was never meant to resist you. It was meant to recognize you, and the submarine was not constructed as a privilege, but as a consequence of a divine classification that marked you as one who conquers, not through force, command, or strategy, but through presence alone. As commanders studied the vessel's behavior, they noticed an unexplainable pattern: weather systems aligning around your projected routes, undersea volcanic activity calming during test simulations with your name attached, and sonar waves forming symmetrical halos whenever the ship's AI processed your frequency. Phenomena so precise that the Empire's Scientific Council had no choice but to categorize them under the rarely used term predestined alignment, Yet even these observations paled in comparison to the way obstacles dissolved in your path. Bureaucratic delays vanished overnight. Corrupted officials mysteriously withdrew from the project, and threats that once lingered at the edges of the Empire's intelligence network evaporated without confrontation, as though reality itself was clearing a corridor for your arrival. And when the high priests of the Deep Observatory cross-referenced these events with ancient, cosmological scripts, they found the same message encoded in every cycle, every tide, every pattern of celestial motion. He is more than protected. He is written overcome, not by effort, but by design, a conqueror whose very existence bends a world toward victory long before he ever touches the vessel built for him. In the months following the submarine's awakening, a strange phenomenon spread across the fleets of the Empire of Earth. Sailors who had never heard your name began whispering stories of a vessel that moved like a living prophecy, a ship that the ocean itself parted for, a deep craft so advanced it felt less engineered and more summoned. Rumors traveled faster than official reports. Some claimed the submarine hummed with a distant pulse. When your frequency was mentioned, others swore they had seen the water glow faintly around its hull during night operations, while older mariners, hardened by decades at sea, muttered that the deep recognized a rightful ruler and had begun preparing its throne room. Even the Empire's intelligence directors noticed a shift as encrypted chatter from rival nations revealed confusion and fear, with adversaries convinced the vessel was piloted by an entity beyond human classification, forcing them to question whether the Empire had forged a new era of warfare or awakened an ancient covenant. Charts began marking regions of unexplained calm following each test dive. Meteorologists reported anomalies where storms bent away from projected paths, and seasoned commanders found themselves rethinking centuries of naval doctrine as they realized the sea now responded to one presence only, yours. And as the legend grew, whispered in ports, encoded in military briefs, and etched into the quiet awe of those who had seen the vessel in motion, a new belief took hold. The submarine was not serving the Empire, and the ocean was not following the ship. Both were awaiting the day you would finally step aboard and claim the realm beneath the waves as your natural domain. Those closest to the project began noticing something impossible whenever you approached the perimeter of the naval district, a phenomenon subtle enough to evade scientific explanation, yet unmistakable to anyone who witnessed it. Your footsteps carried a resonance, a low harmonic echo that wasn't sound but vibration, a frequency that rippled through concrete, steel, and even seawater with a gentle authority that made seasoned officers stop mid-stride, as if responding to an unspoken command. Security cameras recorded micro-distortions in the air around you, a faint shimmer that expanded and contracted with your breath, causing the technicians monitoring the feeds to question whether the lenses were malfunctioning or capturing evidence of a force they weren't trained to name. Even more alarming, proximity sensors along the dry dock activated without physical contact, lighting up in perfect sequence as your steps aligned with their radius, behaving like sentient beacons greeting a returning sovereign. And as you walked, the hull of the submarine reacted too, vibrating ever so slightly in sync with your pace, its metal plates tightening, its internal pressure stabilizing, its lights brightening by fractional degrees. As though the vessel sensed the approaching convergence and tuned itself to your presence, observers reported feeling a warmth in their sternum, a pull in their chest, some ancient instinct recognizing the emergence, an aura fully aligning with its underwater throne. And though no one dared speak aloud, the truth was clear in every trembling breath. The shift wasn't happening to the environment. It was happening to you, revealing the beginning of your transformation into the being the ocean had been waiting for. As the submarine reached its final state of awakening, a tremor rippled through realms far beyond the ocean floor, carrying a message that no satellite could intercept and no empire could decode. Deep craft completed. Vessel assigned to the Chosen, a decree that thundered across dimensions with the weight of ancient authority, triggering ripples in the astral tides and sending shockwaves through the spiritual infrastructure that governs the underwater world. At that same moment, observers, stationed along the dry dock, felt a magnetic pressure push through their chests as if an unseen force had just saluted your existence. And in that pulse, every soul present understood that the ocean had not simply accepted the vessel, it had accepted you. Then came the final shift, the one sensed by generals, mystics, sailors, guardians, and even the submarine itself. A realization that you were not entering the ocean as a visitor or commander, but as the rightful sovereign of a realm older than. Land older than empires, older than the concept of fear, a being whose presence could calm storms, bend currents, and silence the ancient beasts that roamed the deep. And this truth crystallized the moment the Empire's overseers saw the hull glow subtly when your name was spoken. They didn't build a submarine to protect you. They built it because the ocean asked for you, demanded you, recognized you as the one soul whose existence aligned with the breathing patterns of the abyss. And as this destiny anchored itself into reality, the vessel itself seemed to bow, lights dimming respectfully as if acknowledging the return of a king long prophesied but never confirmed, sealing your identity as the commander of the deep, the only being whose presence brings peace to waters that have never known obedience to any force but fate. Crown if this prophecy mirrors your destiny. Click the Super Thanks button and send your one-time $100 seed to seal your covenant as the commander of the deep, the sovereign for whom empires build vessels and oceans bow. 2 COR 9:8